Brandun Lee was one of the brightest prospects in boxing, racking up multiple knockout finishes with each finish getting more and more exciting, even winning Prospect of the Year in the Ring Awards in 2021. But after a pair of fights going to decision and getting viciously knocked down in one of them, along with matchmaking questions, is he still that highly rated prospect? Yo, what's going on YouTube? Rackz here, back with another video, and today I'll be introducing a new series to the channel called Boom or Bust. Now, Boom or Bust is where we'll look at some of boxing's brightest prospects, and I'll pretty much look at some of the adversity that they went through, their come up, and their overall whole story, and I'll break it down, and I can tell you guys if there will be a boom or if there will be a bust. And in the first episode, we will feature Brandun Lee, who is a 140-pound undefeated prospect, and he signed with PBC, and he's faced some adversity, getting knocked down, and even, looking kind of lost at some points in some of these fights, and showing some very, very big defensive flaws. Now, without any further ado, let's go into Brandun Lee's story. Brandun Lee started his career as a standout amateur boxer, racking up a record of 181-9, going to plenty of tournaments as an amateur, including winning 4 junior Golden Glove championships. He was going to represent America and Russia in the tournament, but his parents refused to allow him to travel due to school. Some of the likes that he's faced in the amateurs are Ryan Garcia, Janelsa Figueroa Boca Chica, and Nikita Abibi, who he faced in the 2014 United States National PAL Championships Junior Final. When Lee first turned professional, he was quite the standout, being ranked number 1 at 140 pounds in the United States of America at the time. He would go on to sign with manager Cameron Duncan, who stated this about the prospect: "He's a boxer puncher, but a really good puncher," said Duncan in describing Lee. "If you go to his amateur record, all you see is referee stops contest head," which is pretty much stoppages in the amateur system. "It's amazing how many people he knocked out at a national level." Lee hit the ground running as a professional, fighting 7 times in 2017 and finishing all of the opponents that he faced. He would go on to have 5 fights in 2018 and 19, and throughout that 10-fight span, he would end up stopping 9 of those opponents, and he'd even find himself fighting on the pre-televised portions of Showtime's cards in late 2019. This success carried on to 2020 because in his second fight of 2020, he found himself headlining a card on Showbox against Camilo Prieto. In this fight, Brandun Lee stopped him in the 3rd round, and then he would end up finding himself on a few more Showtime cards before making his national television debut on the undercard of Donaire vs. Gabalio, as the first fight of the 3-fight card against Juan Heraldez, who was a TMT Mayweather-signed fighter. In this fight, he was able to dominate Heraldez en route to a 7th-round knockout win. In his next fight, he will find himself on a televised undercard portion of the Spence vs. Ugas pay-per-view, where he would dominate Zachary Ochoa by unanimous decision, ending his 15-fight knockout streak in exchange for some valuable experience, since he'd only been past round 4 once at that point in his career. But the performance itself was very lackluster, as Lee only landed 18% of his punches and only 17% of his jabs. After this fight, he went on to face Will Madera on the televised undercard of a Showtime event in August of 2022, where the bad performances would continue with Lee, starting off strong in the first 2 rounds, only to get dropped by a nasty overhand right in the 3rd. Raising some serious concerns with his defense. After the knockdown, he would go on to win most of the rounds in the fight, but would noticeably get hit a lot more with power punches throughout the fight. But at the end, he was able to get a unanimous decision and a victory where he showed heart and recovery. But as I said before, the downfall in performance continued as he got hit with a career-high 127 punches, including 119 power punches, and he went to decision once again after that huge knockout streak to start off his career. But it seemed like this fight exposed some of Lee's biggest weaknesses, like his defense, like I mentioned before, with some fans stating that he drops his hands quite a bit low, as well as a few fans stating that he should look into dropping his father as a trainer, as there's been little to no improvement in his last few fights, as well as some fans questioning why Showtime doesn't put Lee on main card bouts. As we see Jaron Ennis and a lot of the other prospects that grew up around Lee and that are cool with Lee end up on Showtime pay-per-view cards, Showtime co-main events, and some of those guys are even ranked in top 5 title organizations. With all that being said, I believe Lee is a name to look out for in the future. He's incredibly gifted physically with the power, the speed, and the overall skill that he needs in order to dominate in boxing. Now, I do believe that Lee should look into finding a new or a co-trainer, as we've seen how Ben Davis helps Devin Haney while his father is still there. So his father kind of got pushed down to co-trainer. I think that Lee should look into doing the same thing because I feel his dad, as stated, I don't think that there's much improvement going there. I think that Lee should look into getting a co-trainer or at least a new trainer and pushing his dad down to co-trainer because I feel his dad is very calm with him, and I feel that Lee needs a little bit more intensity in his corner, a little bit more urgency in that corner. Lee obviously needs to work on his defense as well because he has been hit, dropped, and cracked a few times in his last couple of fights when the step up in competition continues to grow. But I think that his defense, I think it will be okay, but he just has to remember to keep his hands up. And like I said before, getting a new trainer should help with that and completely eliminate the problem. As stated, I think that Brandun Lee can hang with the best at 140 pounds in terms of power. If he moves up, then that obviously, I think that power will drop off a bit. But there's no doubt about it that Brandun Lee has the power to compete with the best in both of those weight classes. I believe that Brandun Lee could very, very well secure himself a WBA regular title or an interim title because how we know how the PBC likes to work with the WBA. I think we could see Brandun Lee claiming a WBA title very, very soon in about 2 years or so. But for the most part, I could possibly see Brandun Lee becoming unified if it's the right champion. But I believe that may be the cap for Brandun Lee. I don't think that we'll see any undisputed or anything such as that from Brandun Lee. But I do believe that in his next 2 fights, he will show some very, very big differences. And we will start looking at him as the same bright prospect we looked at him, like how I explained it in the early part of the video. I'm going to go ahead and say that Brandun Lee will be a boom. I believe, in the next 2 years, he will show some vast improvements. And I think that Brandun Lee will be a name to surely look out for in boxing for the next couple of years around the 140 and 147 weight class. And he will prove that statement. I know a lot of you guys are like, wait, whoa, how was he a boom given all of the reasons you stated before? Trust me, guys, he'll show you guys. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure y'all like and subscribe. If you're new, comment down below what you guys think of this video. And comment who else you think should earn a boom or bust. Appreciate it, guys. Peace out.